Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we're going to be talking all things productivity and motivation. One of my most frequently asked questions, and honestly I think I would be so rich if I got £1 every time somebody asked me how I stay productive and motivated, so I thought I would let you in on all of my tips, tricks and secrets today. I thought we'd do a little chatty video because I haven't done one in a while, so definitely get yourself a drink or a snack. I've made myself a cup of tea and let's chat. I haven't asked for any questions this time. I just thought I would break it down into my own categories and kind of talk about how I managed to stay productive and motivated throughout year 13, which, as we all know, is a pretty rough school year. But even if you're in year 10, year 11, year 12, whatever year you're in, whether you just need a little bit of study motivation or a little bit of tips for enhancing your productivity, then you're definitely in the right place. Now, I'm relying completely on my brain for this. I have no plan, I have no notes, I'm literally just going freehand with it. So I'm going to be talking about productivity and motivation in two kind of different sections because I think they're very, very different things. Motivation is defined as the reasons for behaving or acting in a particular way, and productivity I think is a little bit different because I would say that productivity is actually the output of your work, whereas I think motivation is kind of like the inner feeling and then the productivity is the output. That's how I think of it anyway. I don't think of them as the same thing. So we're gonna first start with talking about motivation because, like in the definition, it talks about having a reason, and I think when it comes to anything, but particularly schoolwork and anything to do with academics, to be motivated to study, you need to have a reason to study. And I think for a lot of people, because of the way the school system works in the UK as well, a lot of people study because they have to, because you're going to get a test on it and you can't fail. And, you know, if you don't study, you're not going to get into college, or you're not going to get into university, or you're never going to get a job, or you're going to fail at everything in life. And that's why that's people's like basic motivation to study. I think it's so much more than that, and I think the reason that I have so much motivation to study and to revise and work hard for my exams is because I want it for myself. Ultimately, I want my work to pay off for myself and not necessarily to get me to the next step. So goals behind why you're studying are very important, and I think if you're studying for the sake of it and because your teachers are telling you you have to, but you don't actually have any kind of internal reason to do so, that's when it's going to get really difficult to maintain that motivation. And I think that happens to a lot of people during year 13 because it's like, you need to revise for your A-levels because they're really important, and then you don't have anything to go beyond that. So then when it gets to halfway through year 13, you literally just fall flat because you're like, I actually don't care. So I remember at the beginning of year 13, and I also did this in January as like my goals for 2024, is I wrote down a set of academic goals. And obviously it's not something I'm going to share publicly on the internet. It's more than just like, I want this grade in this, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's really, really important, and I think a good thing to do if you're questioning whether you're motivated or not is to actually sit down and write down some goals. A lot of it was the grades I wanted to achieve. Is it because you want to get into a certain sixth form or get into a certain university, study a certain course? You need to have a reason for why you're revising in order to stay motivated. Because if you've got something that you can stick in the back of your head every time you feel tired or you feel like you can't be bothered, if you can have that thing going around the back of your head, it's going to make it so much easier. I think something to be considerate about is that exams and school, and especially year 11, year 13, are difficult. They're difficult, stressful periods of time, and your motivation even with those goals, your motivation is not going to be in full force the whole year. However, I definitely think that just because you are lacking motivation does not mean that you can't continue studying. Like, I really do think that sometimes you have to push through, and that is, my friends, something called discipline. I have had to have so much self-discipline this year. Discipline is defined as the ability to control yourself and work hard without somebody else telling you what to do, and even when you don't want to be doing it. So it's just making yourself do it anyway and pushing through. Discipline will actually get you further than motivation will, so stop relying on motivation. Stop waiting for a switch or a click of the fingers for your motivation to come back, because it probably won't. Okay, so throughout the school year and throughout exam season, Obviously productivity is very important, and if you want to do the best you can in your exams, you obviously want to have that really high level of productivity, and you want to reduce the procrastination. I feel like procrastination and productivity are like polar opposite things. Throughout exam season you're going to have elements of both. I thought I would kind of run through how I manage to stay productive. When I get asked how I'm so motivated, I don't really know how to respond because I'm not always motivated. A lot of it does come from discipline. However, when people ask how I'm always so productive, I feel like I can answer that a bit better, because I do think I'm productive like 90% of the time. And productivity does not always have to mean that you're doing like 8 hours of revision a day. Productivity can also be resting as well, but I just think productivity for me refers to having a bit of purpose and having a bit of structure. Obviously there's going to be days where you just sit in bed and do absolutely nothing, and that's fine, but that's a very like small amount of my days. And I think even when I'm not spending hours and hours in the library studying all day, like I can still define my day as being productive. I think people think that you can only be productive if you've done X amount of work, but it really doesn't matter how much work you do. It's kind of like the purpose of your day and how much you get out of it. I feel like I'm doing a TED talk, like somebody get me into like school assemblies or something. Why would that actually be so fun? I would love to do that. I love like chatting, so anyways, let's get back to the video. My best tips for being productive. Number one is you need to have routine. I think I've spoken about this so many times, but I cannot tell you how important staying in a good routine is. It's literally like the backbone of being productive is having a routine. So we have a morning routine. I think this can be as basic as you want to make it. Like you just get out of bed, you do your skincare, you have breakfast, you get dressed. That can be so simple. Like routines don't have to be like all elaborate and crazy. It can be really simple, but it's just the same thing you do in the same order every morning. I also have an evening routine because again, this just helps. It gives you a set time to wind down each night. Some parts of your routine you might not like and you might want to switch up. It's taken me so long to develop a night routine because I just felt like nothing was working for me, but don't give up on it. Just switch little bits that aren't working until you find something that is suitable for you. So I would definitely say with building routines, write them down with times, write them down with how long you think each task is going to take you, and stick to it for a few days. And if there's something you don't like about it, switch it up. Just keep going until you've figured out what works for you. Another thing that I think is so important with productivity is that you need to give yourself a rest. You actually do need to take breaks and you need to not burn yourself out. You cannot be, especially academically, you can't be productive and studying for hours and hours every single day because you're going to burn out. That is one of the biggest things that I learned throughout year 13 is you can't be productive every single day, every hour of every day. You need to give yourself time off. You need to give yourself rest. Now, it might work for you to be productive 6 days a week and have a rest day. For me, it actually works better for me to be productive for the majority of my day and then have a rest time every single day. So like my mornings are my rest time. I don't necessarily do anything majorly productive. I might spend some time watching YouTube or scrolling on Pinterest. In the evenings, again, that's time for myself to have a shower, do things I enjoy, do some skincare, watch something. Again, those are just little times for yourself that are not to do with studying because you need to give yourself that time to switch off. And that is so important. I cannot stress that to you enough. If you don't give yourself time to have a break and you don't give yourself rest, your body will do it for you. Like your body will literally shut down. You'll get ill, you'll get stressed, you'll get burnt out. It's not achievable. Now, something I do that keeps me productive, which you guys will know if you follow me on TikTok, I post little day in the life slideshows pretty much every day. And I also post on my Instagram story quite frequently. Take photos of everything. Like, even if you're not posting them on TikTok, even if you're not putting them on your public Instagram story, like, take photos of things. Take photos of when you're revising, or of your meals, or of, like, if you go for a walk, take a picture. Like, I don't know what it is, but it makes me feel productive, because then at the end of the day, through your camera roll, and it's like, oh, I've actually done so much today that I probably wouldn't have given myself credit for if I hadn't taken the picture, if I, like, just forgot that I did it. So I do actually think that that does help. Now, another thing that definitely helps with productivity is romanticizing your life. Romanticizing studying, it's honestly got me through. It's been the reason that I have managed to maintain productive days throughout the year, because without it, everything is so mundane and boring, especially throughout exam season. And I think I'm at the point in my exam season, and I'm sure everyone else can relate if you're still having exams at the moment. It is so boring. Revision is boring, especially when you're doing it so frequently. Like, my life feels saturated with revision at the moment. That's actually just given me trauma to a biology multiple choice. This is the thing with A-levels. I feel like they've literally contaminated my life. Like, everything links to biochem or psych. Everything. Moving on. Really important that you romanticize it so that you can keep it a little bit more interesting and stop your life getting so repetitive. Like I said, I like to put time for myself into my mornings and my evenings, and that kind of romanticizes that for me. I like to make Pinterest boards of absolutely everything, so every time I'm studying or every time I'm out, like, I can refer to my Pinterest boards in my head, and Pinterest makes you feel like the main character. So make playlists for everything. Like, just make playlists for every occasion. When you're in the car, when you're on the bus, when you're studying, like when you're walking around college or whatever. I have playlists for everything, and a lot of the time I do have my AirPods in or I have music playing, and it is just like the most main character vibe feeling ever when you have a really good playlist. Switch up where you study. I don't know what the science is behind it, but it just kind of gives your brain a bit of a refresh, I feel. So if I've been studying in my room for like days on end and I just suddenly decide to go to a coffee shop or a library, it's like a game changer. I feel completely different. Something that I did quite frequently in year 13, and I'm not gonna lie, my bank account probably didn't appreciate it, but my grades definitely did, is I would go to a coffee shop once or twice a week during college hours and study with one of my friends. Not only was this giving myself differentiation from just studying alone, I was actually doing it with somebody else, but it gave me a change of scenery. You have the opportunity to get a coffee, and like, there's nothing better than that. Kind of links on to the last one about studying in coffee shops, but also studying with friends. Now, I am so hit or miss on if I like studying with friends or not, and my friends probably know this, to be fair. When I'm studying, I don't like distraction. I'm probably someone that's really boring to study with. Personally, I think people studying around me, you'll study. If you're studying with me, you're gonna study, because I'm not a distraction. It's really important that you study with people who have similar work ethic to you. Like, definitely throughout year 13 I've studied with so many different people, and I work so well and I feel so motivated when I'm studying with other people who just have the same ethic as me and just want to get stuff done as well. Like, it just makes you feel so productive. So I definitely say maybe study with somebody who has a similar work ethic to you, or study with somebody who you know is going to motivate you and not distract you. Okay, another thing I thought we could discuss is study apps. So things like Study Bunny and Flora. I thought I'd give you my opinions on them because I have mixed opinions, I think. So I had never used these apps before until I think March time I started using them, and I first downloaded Study Bunny because I thought it was really cute how you could track your hours and you could track how much of each subject you were doing. And more recently, about a month ago, I moved over to Flora just because I love the aesthetic of Flora. I think it's so cute, and I love that you can have your friends on there. I do think it can help enhance your productivity because essentially, like, you want to do more because you're studying with friends on there, or you want to unlock the plants, or you want to buy stuff for the Study Bunny. So I do think it does help a little bit. However, I think it can be really toxic as well, because if you are so wrapped up in your hours, it can get unhealthy and you can burn out. And I think this definitely happened for me initially because I'd never tracked my study hours before using Study Bunny, and all of a sudden I was seeing these numbers and I was just trying to beat myself every single day. And also I think on Flora, like, yes, my goal is to beat every single person on that app. I don't think that's a bad thing during exam season. I think a little bit of toxic motivation is healthy here and there. Like, a little bit of competition is good. Like, I'm so glad that I didn't download it earlier, because I think when you're not in an exam season, or especially when you're not like even halfway through year 13, you really don't need to be worrying about that. So I would say personally, if you haven't got those apps, don't download them. But if you're getting to an exam season, I would maybe recommend it for that. Guys, my tea is cold. My family have all just arrived, so my dog's going to be barking. And I've been waffling for far too long now. I need to actually do some revision myself. But I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I think it was a bit random, to be honest. I didn't really have any guide to go off. I was just going out of my brain. But I do get asked these questions quite frequently, so I thought it'd be helpful to put it all in one place for you. And yeah, I love you all so much. If you're doing exams right now, I hope they're going well. I know that my posting has not been particularly consistent, but I'm doing my best, and there's going to be lots of fun content coming soon because I finish my exams in 2 weeks. So yeah, love you all, and I will see you next Sunday.